Posted by you/Sauzer. Can't work on your laptop without my name badge? Guess it wasn't that critical. I worked for a university IT department as a student worker for a little over 4 years. We had a sister department, the Media Center, who loaned out laptops, projectors, and other technology to professors as needed. In my 4th year in employment, I was on a first-name basis with nearly all the employees of the university, including the head of the Media Center. We'll call her Karen, because obviously. Karen was the queen of her kingdom and had quite a few obnoxious rules in place, but most importantly was an ironclad employee ID policy for checking out laptops. Under normal circumstances I completely agree with this policy, however this wasn't a normal circumstance. We got a call from her at 4:40 on a Friday, we closed at 5, that a laptop she was trying to loan out to a very important professor wasn't able to log into the network, and she requested we come look at it. Sure thing. I make the 10-minute walk across campus from our office to the Media Center with my toolkit. When I get there, I see the professor and Karen and ask to see the laptop. She says, "Wait, Sauzer, you need your name badge." "Where is it?" Flash to my name badge, clip to my jacket, hanging on a coat rack in the IT office. "Ah, it's on my jacket, Karen. I forgot to grab it rushing over here." I chuckled a bit. Deadpan, she says, "Sauzer, you can't work on this until you go get your badge." "Karen, I thought this was an emergency. Do you need me to fix this right now?" "Yes, of course," Karen explained, "but we still need to always follow policy." Fair enough. Policy is incredibly important. I'll go get my name badge. I left the office, trekked the 10 minutes back to my office. Then I picked up the phone and called her. "Hey Karen, just letting you know that because it's 5:20 and policy states student workers can't work after hours, I'll have to come back Monday. Have a great weekend." She fumed at me for a few minutes until I essentially hung up on her. Policy is very important. Edit, adding this from my comment below what happened on Monday? My boss did not like Karen at all. He was an amazing guy in general, late 50s, survived cancer, has MS, but still ran security at biker rallies. He'd been with the university for about 30 years and had 8 weeks PTO. So, he would take months off and ride around the country with his equally amazing wife. This was in 2005 and he set the standard for what I would consider a good boss. So, he came in Monday morning to a bunch of voicemails from her about it, yells over to me, "Sauzer, did you leave Karen hanging on Friday?" "Yeah, Chuck, his real name, because he's amazing, forgot my name badge." "Yeah, you are pretty forgetful sometimes." He shrugged and that was that. Karen had to loan her individual work laptop to the professor for the week. For the curious, the problem was that in Windows XP days, when logging in Windows would attempt to connect to every saved wireless network top to bottom. Because this was a loaner, and there were literally hundreds of hotels, airport, and restaurant Wi-Fi, it was taking 8 or 9 minutes for the logon prompt to come up. It took me around 30 seconds to clear out all the saved Wi-Fi connections and return the laptop to them. Karen was not in the office when I went to work on it Monday morning. Edit 2. I 100% was in the wrong here, because I forgot my name badge. I didn't flout the name badge policy on purpose, it was a mistake. Anyone familiar with the Midwest will confirm that sometimes it's bitter cold in the morning, but by late afternoon it's warm enough you don't need a jacket. During my morning tickets I was wearing a jacket and had my name badge on it. Over lunch, I took my jacket off and didn't need it. It was a mistake, and Karen decided that the badge policy was too important for her to overlook my mistake. Which is definitely her prerogative. And it's mine to overlook the student workers cannot be paid overtime rule. The laptop was fixed within 45 business minutes of her reporting the problem to our office, which in my opinion is relatively fast. Name badges and security policies are important. And I could understand her not wanting to let me check out the laptop as if I was a faculty member using their services. But I was an IT employee working late on a Friday even though I wouldn't be done in time so we both could take care of that professor. I wasn't taking the laptop home, I was working on it in front of her. Additionally, it was her department's policy that she wouldn't let people handle laptops without signing them out, but not ours. Our department had no official name badge policy. Edit 3. Well, there are a lot of assumptions going on. Guys, this was 2005, the purpose of the name badge was so when they wrote down who has the laptop, they could write down who had the laptop. But I wasn't taking the laptop anywhere. In no other department and in no other course of our job was our ID required, and at no point in any other part of our jobs did we have to sign for equipment. It was literally this one woman's department. Now on to the next story. Posted by you/AK Weller Fiction. Fired. In 2 weeks. I hope this story isn't too long. It's a little convoluted. I worked for 5 years as a federal contractor and eventually rose through the ranks, through blood, sweat, and tears, to a low-level supervisor. I managed a team of 13 working 2 federal contracts. Both contracts were new, and I was supposed to make them successful so the contracts would be renewed. This started right before COVID. Even before the poop hit the fan, my second contract was going badly. The agency flooded us with work, and my boss repeatedly refused to ask them to slow it down. That was literally his only job. As a result, late work began piling up and costing the company lots of money. We did our best to keep up, which in reality meant a ton of unpaid overtime for me. Then COVID hit, and things only got worse. My staff asked almost daily if there would be layoffs, and my boss's response, to them, was "We don't know." To me, the answer was that my job was secure, but the others weren't. If the contract failed, he said, I'd have a place on another team. Obviously, the contract failed. My boss personally fired me, and, unbeknownst to me, most of my team. I learned who was staying and who was going by talking with each of them personally. No one knew it was going to happen to them until it happened, and they were all shocked that I'd been fired as well. This was August 2020. Panic ensued. After firing me, my boss, who until that day I'd considered a very good friend, had the stones to call and ask me if I'd help him end the contract on a high note. I got fired 2 weeks before my official last day, because that company is run by sadists. I told him I'd do my job. As a proud Slytherin, I immediately began doing everything I could, within the rules of course, to send my fired staff home in the best shape possible. We all knew our unused PTO would cash out, but sick time wouldn't. Everyone was sick those last 2 weeks, and my boss ended up doing most of the work himself. I also sent a ton of people to work from home with COVID-like symptoms so they could use their time to interview for jobs, etc. I was immediately hired by another federal contractor, and I brought my best former employee along with me. Since then, she and I poached about a dozen employees away from our former employer, who eventually threatened to sue her if she headhunted anyone else. I'm proud to say that our revenge-fueled efforts have taken so many of their good employees that the company is now openly failing and will soon go out of business. Now on to the last story. Posted by you/pastel_projections. AITA for going behind my mum's back and getting a second opinion from a different doctor? I, 17F, haven't been feeling well the past 3 weeks. I've felt faint, lightheaded, weak and have passed out a few times. My mum, 42F, believed that I was feeling like this because I was tired from school and the amount of work I need to do. Even after telling her how I was feeling and even how I had passed out while doing homework, she brushed it off and said I was just sleepy and that I'd get over it eventually. After a week my mum finally took me to the doctor. I know I'm old enough to go myself, but I have an anxiety disorder, so I find making appointments hard. It felt like more of a getting me to shut up sort of visit more than one concerning my health. When at the appointment my mum did most of the talking, saying things that weren't exactly true. She sugar-coated everything I said to her and then gave her personal opinion where she thinks I'm feeling like this because I'm on my period, which I was. The doctor agreed and did a blood pressure test and an eye tracking test thingy. He concluded that I had low blood pressure and vertigo. He said low blood pressure was normal for girls my age and that I'll get over my vertigo by drinking and eating more. We then left without asking any more questions. My problem with this appointment was that I had been drinking and eating perfectly fine before and during this all happened, with me drinking at least 3 liters of water and 3 whole meals a day. After talking with my brother, 22M, and my friends, they said that my symptoms don't sound normal. My brother said I'm better off going to another doctor without my mum. So, he booked me an appointment with another one at a different surgery. We both came to the conclusion it would be best to not tell my mum because I would most likely get lectured for going to another doctor, and I'd be told I'm being dramatic or something. At the appointment, the doctor seemed concerned with the symptoms I was showing and took a blood and urine sample. A few days later I was diagnosed with anemia and was given a prescription to help treat it. Before I went to pick it up, I told my mum about the doctor's trip and she freaked out, saying how it was rude of me to go behind her back and go to a different doctor. Saying that if I had been patient and taken my doctor's advice, I would have been fine in a few weeks' time. She then switched up and said how she felt betrayed because she felt as if her own daughter couldn't trust her, meaning she had failed as a mother. It's been a few hours and I'm starting to feel guilty about going behind my mum's back. I didn't want to hurt her and I'm starting to think that if I did eat healthier then maybe my iron deficiency would have gone away. So AITA?